recently watched Wish, and honestly, this movie made me feel so empty.
It's mostly just soulless.
Yes, this is what happens when a company that has no idea what people want sets out to give people what they, the company, think the people want.
I sat down in my seat for The Little Mermaid, wondering whether this was really the best life I could be living. The answer, of course, was no.
It's like there's no depths that Disney won't sink to in their relentless pursuit of profit over artistic merit.
The film felt impersonal.
Yes, I didn't think Onward would be good, and it turned out that I was completely right. This is not a very good movie.
If you take a look at those big Netflix original blockbusters where they dumped hundreds of millions of dollars, do you remember any of them?
The discontent is loud and clear. People are tired of mediocrity. They are tired of this empty feeling that a lot of popular movies leave us with. But how did we get here? How did we end up in a time when art makes us feel empty? Art produced by the same companies who used to make people feel, who are building their fortunes on past glory, clinging to nostalgia because it's been years since they created something of substance. Well, in order to get to the bottom of this, we first have to understand what gives a soul to a piece of art. And luckily for us, there is a story that perfectly encapsulates the answer to this question. The story I'm talking about is written by the author of The Little Mermaid. Not that one, the one who turns into sea foam in the end. Yeah, I'm talking about Hans Christian Andersen and his Nightingale. This story is very special to me. I remember growing up we had those cassette tapes. I loved unwinding and rewinding them with a pencil, but more than that, I loved listening to them. And one of my favorite tales was that of the Nightingale. I used to play it over and over again seated on the floor, staring into the cassette player and envisioning the words I hear, and I didn't even realize when the Nightingale shaped my understanding of art and what the purpose of a creator is. Something I think a lot of modern creators need to be reminded of. But I'll talk about this at length later. Let's listen to the story. The story of the Nightingale is set in China, back in the olden days when there was a Chinese emperor and travelers from all over the world would go visit the empire and brought back to their countries stories of the great capital, of the palace, and the beautiful royal garden. A garden so huge that even the gardener didn't know where it ends. What a garden it was indeed! It was a home to all sorts of wondrous flowers, big trees and deep lakes. If one were to try to walk through it, they were certain to reach the sea, where big ships lowered their sails. There, in a tree near the coast, a little nightingale had built its nest. The nightingale sang so beautifully that even the poor, tired fisherman would stop by to listen and would exclaim, "My God, how beautiful it is!" And indeed it was beautiful. All the travelers would agree. The capital, the palace, the garden, they were all so wondrous. But the most beautiful of them all was the song of the nightingale. A song that everyone had heard. Everyone but the people of the palace and the emperor himself. The more time passed by, and the more books about his country the emperor heard, the more his interest grew. What is this nightingale he had never seen or heard? He demanded it be found and brought to him. This sent all the palace people into a panic, for they didn't know where to search for the bird. But eventually, a little poor kitchen girl told them that she knew where the nightingale lived. "Oh, the nightingale. I know him well," said the girl. "Every evening I go home to my sick mother to bring her kitchen scraps to eat. When I return back, I stop for a rest in the woods, and then I listen to the song of the nightingale. And the tears flow from my eyes. As my soul fills with glee, it feels as if my own mother were kissing me." The people of the palace asked the girl to show them the place. And there in the woods they met him, a little unassuming grey bird. Despite his appearance, the nightingale truly sang so beautifully, so the people of the palace let him know that the emperor wishes to hear him during a court function that same night. The nightingale told them singing in the forest is way better, but since it's the emperor's wish, he shall come. The palace buzzed with excitement awaiting the little bird's performance. And the emperor graciously nodded, and the little nightingale started singing. He sang so beautifully that tears started glistening in the eyes of the emperor. They rolled down his cheeks, and when the nightingale saw that, he sang even more beautifully, his song reaching the utmost depths of the heart. The emperor was so pleased, he wanted to gift the bird with his own golden slipper. But the nightingale declined, saying, "I have seen tears in the emperor's eyes. For me, that is the greatest prize one could ever give." From that day on, the nightingale was decided to stay in the palace. He received his own cage and 12 servants who walked him everywhere. The common folk adored him. The palace people tried to sound like him. It was all well until the emperor received a gift. An artificial nightingale encrusted with diamonds and rubies and sapphires. Whenever it was wound, it wagged its glistening gold and silver tail and sung just like the real nightingale. The people wanted to hear them in a duet, but it sounded unpleasant, for the artificial one followed its pattern, and the real one sang from the heart. And so the artificial nightingale was led to sing alone 33 times, and it sang the same melody over and over until the emperor thought it's now time for the real one to sing too. But where was it? No one had noticed when the real nightingale had flown away and disappeared into the garden. How could he? The emperor gasped, and everyone mutually decided that the real nightingale is an ungrateful creature that deserves to be banished from the land. And so, from then on, the artificial one took its place, and it sung tirelessly until one day something clicked inside of the bird. A weird sound came out of its tiny body, and the music stopped. Great panic ensued among the people, but finally the royal watchmaker managed to patch it, warning against its often use. And from then on, the artificial nightingale was allowed to play only once a year and for a very short period of time. 5 years passed by, and a great tragedy laid upon the land. The beloved emperor lay ill. No one thought he'd survive, and a new one was chosen in readiness. People didn't want to disturb the old emperor, and so they laid carpets everywhere to muffle all sounds. And so, alone and pale, in a room he laid, and everything was so silent. Something heavy was sitting on his chest. It was death itself. Among the folds of the great velvet curtains, strange faces peeked, some ugly and twisted, others gentle and kind. They were the good and the bad deeds of the emperor. Do you remember? Do you remember? They whispered one after another, and they told him things that made cold sweat run down his forehead. I never knew, whispered the emperor. Sound the great gong of China, lest I hear what they say. Music, I beg of you, music, oh dear golden nightingale. Please sing a song to me, he pleaded. But the nightingale stood silent, for it was not wound, and death kept staring through its great hollow eyes, and it was all so quiet, so deafeningly quiet. And then suddenly, a wonderful song flowed through the window. It was the real nightingale who had heard of the emperor's sickness and had come to comfort him and sing for him. He sang, and the ghostly figures faded as the blood flowed quicker and quicker through the emperor's body. Even death listened and nodded. Go on, nightingale. Go on. And the nightingale continued singing of the quiet cemetery where white roses bloom, where the lilac makes the air sweet, and the dewy grass is always green, watered with the tears of those who are still alive. Death listened and remembered its beautiful garden. It longed for it, and so it flew out of the window like a chilly swirl of mist. Thank you, dear nightingale, thank you, the emperor cried. I banished you from my land, and yet you came back and chased away the evil figures. You chased away death itself. How can I ever repay you? You have already rewarded me, said the nightingale. I brought tears to your eyes when I first sang for you. To the heart of a singer, those are more precious than any precious stone. And the nightingale continued to sing as the emperor dozed off into refreshing sleep. The sun was shining through the window when the emperor awoke on the next day, restored and well. Nightingale, he said, you must live here with me forever and sing when you please. I shall break the artificial bird into thousands of pieces. No, said the nightingale. It served you well to the best of its abilities. Keep it with you. I cannot live here. Allow me to visit you when I please. At night I shall sit by your window and sing to you. My song will make you happy, and it will make you think. I'll sing to you for the gleeful and sorrowful people. I'll sing to you for all good and evil that is around you, hidden from your eyes. The small bird flies everywhere, to the poor fisherman and the farmer, and all who live far from your palace. I love you more for your heart than your crown. I will visit you, and I'll sing to you. But promise me one thing. Everything, the emperor said as he stood firm. Only one thing, the nightingale asked. Don't tell anyone that you have a little bird who tells you everything. This will be for the best. And the nightingale flew away. Then the servants came in to look at their dead emperor, and they themselves stood dead in their tracks. And the emperor told them, Good morning. A paradox. Any person, thing, or situation displaying an apparently contradictory nature. I'll tell you one thing I consider a paradox. Our need to create while simultaneously being unable to create anything purely original and of our own. In a sense, it can be said that humans are amazing at transforming rather than creating. We transform experiences, thoughts, ideas, observations, and we turn them into something new. The more real people and places we interact with, the more authentic our art feels, as it is a transformed reflection of something relatable that exists. At night, I shall sit by your window and sing to you. My song will make you happy, it will make you think. I'll sing to you for the gleeful and sorrowful people. I'll sing to you for all good and evil that is around you, hidden from your eyes. The small bird flies everywhere, to the poor fisherman and the farmer, and all who live far from your palace. The nightingale couldn't create art locked in the palace. He needed to spend time amongst the people, he needed to see it all. Happiness, sadness, poverty, and luxury. Only in such a way could his songs remain real, thought-provoking, and touching. However, soaking up the real world in order to create something meaningful can take a very long time, and long time is something our modern world has no patience for. I really like the story of Takahata Isao, a director and producer for Studio Ghibli, who went into 14 years of creative silence just to come back to produce his magnum opus, The Day of Princess Kaguya, which in itself was a painstaking, lengthy journey that took 8 years to complete. The efforts, of course, resulting in a stunning, heartfelt movie, an Oscar nomination, and numerous other awards. The unfortunate truth, however, is that not every creator can have their studio allow them to take their time and create. Modern cinema, streaming, and the 1-minute scroll platforms don't allow for time. Our world has become so extremely fast-paced that it feels like the studios are in constant rush to pump out new productions to be part of the flow, otherwise you become forgotten, irrelevant. As much as I adore YouTube as a platform, even here it's very noticeable how quickly produced content is valued over one that takes more time. Those are just the rules of the game. As a creator on YouTube, at least you get to choose how to spend your time, and hopefully your audience appreciates the efforts and supports you. However, in a big movie production, you're locked between deadlines that have been shrinking exponentially as the years go by. Take for example how in the past Disney had been working on several concepts for a Rapunzel movie dating as far back as the 1930s, and they took their time to actually release one many decades later in 2010, resulting in a beautiful, heartfelt production. Whereas in current times, for example, their movie Wish, being an anniversary one, had to be released in 2023, even though it was underbaked conceptually and left people feeling empty and confused. Moreover, this isn't only a Disney issue, it is true for most modern productions. There are always people who are dictating the rules, who are demanding profits and rushing, and at some point, spending time in the real world and soaking up life so that you can create meaningful art just isn't convenient anymore. What do you do then? You let go of reality, locked up in your palace, and you let your mind flow online. And you know how the online world is. Hate and uproar gain virality. Creative souls especially are easily led by emotions. And if those emotions are dark, that darkness starts intertwining with their art without them even noticing sometimes. The world starts seeming so hateful, they lose grip, they no longer trust humanity. Let me give you an example of how such distrust in humanity can be displayed in a simple opening scene of a movie. I'll compare the beginnings of the 1989 and 2023 Little Mermaid. The 1989 version opens up in the sky, where the seagulls gracefully glide up to a pod of playful dolphins. The music is uplifting, the setting is peaceful, yet swelling with a sense of excitement for an upcoming adventure. And then a ship sails out of the mist, splashing beautiful waves and circling around as if flaunting its beautiful sails. We see the sailors smiling and singing a story about the mysterious depths below, adding to the already established sense of mystery and elation, followed by Prince Eric himself noting how lovely it is to breathe in the salty sea air and feel the wind rustling through his hair. This portrayal carries us over to a place or a feeling we've once had. It taps into our ingrained desire to discover, to unravel great mysteries and soak up life. It reminds us of the joys of being at sea, that happiness you can experience from something as simple as taking a deep huff of salty air and feeling the wind ruffle your hair. Contrast this with a 2023 version. It starts in the darkness, accompanied by the howls of the angry wind. Then we're shown the sea, but the sea this time is not welcoming. It seems frightening and angry as a somber melody plays in the background. The waves splash threateningly as we pan out to the reflection of a mermaid, and immediately a harpoon shot, followed by a bunch of angry men shouting and throwing their weapons, then proceeding to get more rowdy and voicing their desire to kill the magical creature.
I kill her before she comes aboard!
There is no sunshine anymore, no sea breeze, only the roars of a bunch of angry men hungry for murder. The only feeling a scene like this could evoke is fear. Fear of humanity, fear of who we are, and a dreadful, hopeless outlook on life where everything is so dark and hateful. But you may think, well, it's just the vibe of the movie, it's not like this sense of fear and hatred carries over to the real world. Oh, but it does. And I believe it affects the emotional charge of a lot of modern productions. Disney exec blames Marvel's flop on bigoted audience. He blames sexist audience members for the recent box office failure. The Last Jedi also proved controversial with audiences despite being critically acclaimed. The implication is rooted in sexism and racism, that the Star Wars audience is comprised primarily of white males who are harassing female and black actors for daring to exist, let alone taking a starring role. Queer Doctor Who actor tells viewers to turn off the TV if they don't like him. The Little Mermaid 2023 director on racist backlash. It feels so small-minded. How do you create art for someone you see as an enemy? As the barrier between you and your success? How do you think about their feelings when you despise them for their essence? They're the villain in your story. You know what? They don't deserve art. In fact, they need to be taught a lesson. They need to be shown what horrible people they are. We will erase, twist and rewrite their favorite characters. We will mock them and punish them. A good example for such way of thinking is this scene from She-Hulk that was broadly discussed a couple of years ago.
Here's the thing, Bruce. I'm great at controlling my anger. But when I'm catcalled in the street, when incompetent men explain my own area of expertise to me, I do it pretty much every day, because if I don't, I will get called emotional, or I might just literally get murdered. So I'm an expert at controlling my anger because I do it infinitely more than you.
This is how you produce art for an audience you despise. I'm not a Marvel fan, but I've watched enough of the movies and I'm familiar with the story of the Hulk. Throughout the years, he has been built up as a beloved character. He's also known for having one of the more tragic backstories in the MCU, including growing up with an abusive father who ended up killing his mother. Given this information, it is bizarre to observe his cousin be so bitter and condescending towards him, and consequently the audience who is connected to him and values him. But that could be the only outcome of producing art out of hate. And I wish She-Hulk was an isolated case, but we have so many examples. Most of the Disney remakes, Star Wars, the MCU, and the atrocious creation called Rings of Power that hurts me on a personal level. So, is that it? Pressured by lack of time and engulfed by an augmented hateful reality, people despise each other and art no longer serves as common ground. Where do we go from here? Thank you, dear Nightingale, thank you, the Emperor cried. I banished you from my land, yet you came back and chased away the evil figures. You chased away death itself. How can I ever repay you? You have already rewarded me, said the Nightingale. I brought tears to your eyes when I first sang for you. I love you more for your heart than your crown. Good art, I believe, is inherently selfless. It believes in human nature. Even when it criticizes it, it does so because it believes in its potential for change. Good art is love. Love for the stranger before you, love for your perceived enemy. It is a desire to connect to their heart and make them feel. I don't think modern artists should compromise the ideals that they hold dear to their heart, but they should also understand that one can't order people how to feel. You can't force them to support your cause. You have to win them over. Show respect and you will be given respect back. You can't expect from an audience to connect with your message because you told them so. You need to prove to them that you care about them, that you care about what's precious to them and what they value, and only then should you introduce your perspective and give them something to think about. Also, please note I'm saying introduce your perspective, not push it as the sole truth. To go back to the She-Hulk example, instead of being entitled and condescending, She-Hulk could have simply been a decent human, compassionate to her cousin's struggle, and then later on we could have seen her facing prejudice and we surely would have related, or at least empathized. The message didn't need to carry so much hate. It is unfortunate that our cinemas and streaming platforms are flooded by productions that reflect a new, modern, twisted and dark way of perceiving the world. One void of light and meaning, one that doesn't know what to tell us except that it hates us. But not all hope is lost. A little bird once said, "Singing in the forest is way better than in a palace." So remember, good art isn't always flashy, you won't always find it in the big popular places. Seek for it in a quiet cinema playing an indie movie. Seek for it in the hidden corners of social media, a little gallery of the main road, or a book sold by a street vendor. And if you feel like it, try creating it yourself. And even if you're not good at making art, just try to be a better human. It's good enough. After all, remember, you are the artist's inspiration. You are part of the bigger picture. And who knows, one day you may inspire someone to create the type of art that unites people from different backgrounds with different struggles, or ones who feel misunderstood and unloved. And tell them all, I love you, for your heart. Hello, my dear sweet people. What is this? I am in person. I just wanted to thank you all so much for the support on my last video. Thank you for interacting, having a conversation on the matter. And I hope you enjoyed this video too. I am sorry they're taking so long, the magic with the topic of this video actually. But anyways, I am showing in person for a reason. I just wanted to tell you that in case you don't like the long wait between the videos on YouTube, I am on Instagram and I create these nature and crafty videos. So if it is your vibe, feel free to come, and I'm planning a custom necklace giveaway soon. So if you're into that kind of vibe, you're welcome to join the journey. And if it's not your vibe, but you like the videos on YouTube, I hope to see you again in the next one. Okay, that is all. Have a lovely day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Okay.